Hi all. There's a fantastic ultimate Blitz challenge being played after the US Chess Championship. So the top three finalists were joined by Garry Kasparov in a 5-minute tournament, and it wasn't with increments, it's with a delay, so a delay of 3 seconds, which can be taken or left before each move. So it's amazing that Garry Kasparov, who's I think 53 years old, would want to play in this against these really top Blitz players in the world, especially Nakamura has been ranked 1 in Blitz and is currently ranked 2. So how would he fare? I mean, this is playing against the newer generation. So Kasparov is like, you know, a Tyrannosaurus Rex from the past. He's retired. He's been retired for many years. So fascinating. I hooked this up with a live stream app to put it on the TV actually, so I could just put it, watch it on TV last night. So I was really excited to see this. Kasparov against Wesley. So this was the first game. I was really curious to see how strong Kasparov would be. Let's see what happened. So this is in round 1. E4 by Garry Kasparov, and Wesley So, who I played recently by the way, and he praised my play actually. Very nice of him. I had a nice position, you can see that elsewhere. But Wesley So is a fantastic player, a top 10 player. And here we see Kasparov actually using the Scotch game, well, as you can see here, Scotch game, this early d4, avoiding the Roy Lopez stuff. And he has used this on a number of occasions in top level play. With great effect actually. I think he kind of revitalized the opening. We have E takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6. This is quite a common variation so far. Taking here, e5, queen e7 pinning that pawn, queen e2 unpinning that pawn, so e takes as a threat, knight d5, very theoretical, c4, and now we have another pin, bishop e6, that pawn's protected, g6. And now this is not, I don't think this is the main move. This isn't the main move in ChessPlay's live book, at least. This next move by Kasparov, bishop a3. It seems black, from a theoretical perspective, I'll just quickly show you, should play knight b4. And it's got a very interesting idea actually, a tactical threat to it, which you might find fascinating. That if g3, there's the possibility here of knight c2 check, trying to exploit this rook. Queen takes e5 check, and here bishop g7. And black's supposed to be quite okay. So white has to tread carefully after knight b4. So if we go back, that's just from a theoretical point of view. So in the game, we see actually Wesley So playing the move c5, but yeah, knight b4 seems to be the theoretical move, in which case white often just drops the bishop back to b2. So I found that kind of interesting, just checking out for you guys. So c5 was played, so this is slightly unusual, and it would seem to be inviting a move like queen e4, but that's actually, it seems ineffectual here. Again, this a1 tactical liability rears it heads. If white plays queen e4 here, black can actually play a very tactical move, it seems, f5. If takes c6, just to try and dislodge the queen away from e5, so this queen e5 wins that rook. And this is going to be slightly better for black, this position. But Kasparov plays the absolute best move here. It doesn't, and there's also knight b6 as well, protecting the rook, and that's okay. But the absolute best move is g3, just to exploit this diagonal without any issue, holding up e5, making sure this is not exposed in variations as a tactical liability. We have bishop g7, f4, knight comes to b4 now, bishop g2 hitting the rook moves, knight c3, and white does seem to have a very, very comfortable position, a kind of spearhead pawn structure. If you look at this pawn structure, it's like, yeah, it's like an arrow. So an aggressive arrow. I thought to myself, yes, Kasparov, aka Tyrannosaurus Rex, is back here. This looks like a very promising position for him to work with. Very promising indeed. In fact, after the bishop drops back, white is threatening a3. If the knight moves, knight d5 is massive, because then there's knight takes c7 to follow. So this next sequence seems quite necessary against a3. It just seems this is a bad position as far as I can see for black, because yeah, this c5 doesn't seem to have worked too well here. So Wesley tries d5, and we have this forcing sequence a3. The knight clearly can't go back now. d4, a takes, opening the a file, hitting the bishop. So after d takes, bishop takes, c takes b4. Okay, delaying moving the bishop for a moment to counterattack this one, but now that bishop has to move back, and it drops back to c8. So out of the opening, it's still a great position for white here. That pawn doesn't have to be taken at the moment. In fact, Kasparov just aims to it might even be a problem taking that pawn, because you know, things like queen c5 could be annoying. So actually just white castles, and now this next move does seem suspect. Perhaps there are better moves to play here. Maybe protecting a7 with c5 might be better, but this next move looks to be a clear mistake, because yeah, Kasparov plays, I wonder if you can guess actually after f6. What does Kasparov play here? If I give you 5 seconds starting from now. Okay, yeah, this bishop d5 check. So some points to note here. If bishop e6, we can take on f6, and we've got this pin here, and that's really annoying. And if bishop takes, we've got bishop takes e6 check. Yeah, so bishop d5 check is annoying. Now king h8, I thought this was going to be completely losing for black, because of e takes, there's a line here which is embarrassing. Queen takes, f takes g7 is checkmate. But in fact, that's not the whole story there. The king could go there actually, because after e takes, there's a check here. But even so, this position is very nice for white, because the diagonals are pretty dangerous here anyway. If we follow this, you know, we've got things like queen e5, and or even engines coming up with a move like g4 here, just to make sure g5 and queen e5 is more effectual. So while the queen is on e2 to support g4 and g5, this kind of thing is just very nice for white. So once g5 kicking that rook off the diagonal, it's just a strong position for white. Okay, but Wesley so elects actually to sacrifice the exchange after this bishop d5 check. Yeah, he doesn't want to go in for that stuff. He plays rook takes d5. So we have an exchange sack. It does create a nasty pin, because if king g2 bishop b7, and that's a nasty pin on d5, so Kasparov actually goes for rook f2 here, and we have f takes e5, bishop takes e5. Okay, bishop takes e5, and he doesn't want to leave so much pressure on f2 here. Takes with his queen and protects d5, trying to minimize black's counterplay. Rook d8, now he just holds that pawn. Bishop g4, and now we see queen d4, inviting the exchange of queens, not moving the rook yet. Now the rook moves, and there's also an idea of rook a2, because these rooks are supporting each other for rook a2. Here, now we have king g2, taking the king off the first rank, out of dangers. Queen b5. The bishop is evicted now, h3, and we have this move g4, not caring about bishop e4 check. The bishop is a bit stuck there, but it does go there. We have king h2. So if white's given another move, then rook e2 looks to be nasty. We have c5. This does give white a massive passed pawn, which Kasparov is very, very quick to recognize with his next move. which is queen f6. 2 more moves, d6, d7, and that pawn's like going to be queening. It's crashing through here. So attention just shift very quickly there from that bishop being a potential, material tactical liability to his just big trump card d pawn, which is emphasized in many of his master games. Okay, so c4, black is trying to create some sort of passed pawn as well, or pressure on d5, but that pawn just moves, so we've immediately got d7 now. That's blocked for a moment, but now the king side is the attention now after f5, trying to smash through on Wesley So's king side. Rook f8, check, and the pawn steps one more forward, threatening d8. Wesley sets up what seems to be a little trick, queen c5, looking at the rook, so that if d8, there's taking, and rook, queen takes f2. This doesn't work. Black's position is not strong enough to support this idea, actually. But the easiest way to extinguish these ideas is what Kasparov plays, which is queen d6. And here it's hopeless for black. Black's just completely losing this. Wesley so resigned. If we have a look at this position, pardon me, after queen d6, if queen takes d6, rook takes d6, so the bishop moves, we just queen. Yeah, it's hitting the bishop and threatening to queen. Now, the reason I say this tactic wasn't even working, I mean, it's only a 5-minute game. It doesn't actually work too well anyway, because actually d8, we don't have to take on d8. This move is crushing here, apparently. Even if we lose here, we just end up mating black in a line like this. The position is just so strong. That sort of stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's so strong. Kasparov has ripped to shreds black's king safety as well. So, I don't know about you guys, but I thought this game was really, really impressive from Kasparov, who's now 53 years old and daring to play like the top 10 players in the world. We all know he mashed up Nigel Short in a Blitz match, which I covered on the channel like more than a year ago now, I think. But yeah, Nigel Short's not in the top 10. We have these 3 players are like top 10 players: Caruana, Nakamura, and Wesley So. You don't want to mess with these 3 on Blitz, but Kasparov, yeah. And what's more, he's going to donate, if he did win this thing and it carries on today, he's going to donate his winning prize to the organisers. So what a fantastic guy, Kasparov, playing in this, daring to play in this. I mean, I think for me, whatever happens after this game, he's shown he's really fantastic at Blitz. I mean, I think he's at greatest energy here, and in the first game, and maybe he would wane later with age, but in a way, there's an argument that Blitz games are obviously they're going to be less gruesome in terms of energy consumption than a one-day FIDE game. So when we get to in our 50s, we hope that at least we can play Blitz chess, and Kasparov is showing that here. He's sticking up for the 50-year-olds. that Blitz chess is not too energy and time consuming, and he can play with the best in the world. But Kasparov is arguably one of the best, or the best player. Many people think he's the best player ever in the history of the game. And a recent visualization graph showed he was one of the few champions that was peak on the rating list before he retired. So he's had some, absolutely fantastic world champion coming back to play in this Blitz challenge. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Comments or questions on YouTube. And I hope to show you some other games of Kasparov in this event soon. Thanks very much.